Hey everybody, this is Tyson
And Logan.
and you're listening to Dad, Bods, and Beards podcast. It's a show that gives you a fresh look on being a father, a husband, and honestly, a man being in today's world.
For people who want to have a good time, laugh, and be uplifted, thanks for subscribing and listening. Now for the show.
So today's episode, I really want to talk about kindness because I feel like a lot of people feel like kindness is weakness. I have gotten a lot of feed, like within your For You page and stuff like that, with Instagram, with TikTok and everything. I've gotten a lot of stuff talks about being nice is weak. Being kind is weak.
It's probably my fault.
Is that really what it is? Because you get on my account and you probably forget.
Well, I mean, that's
you messaged someone on my account, Robert, and you sent him a video, and I'm like, well, I didn't send this to him. I'm like, oh, Logan probably
did. I? Well, see, I have like 3 or 4 different accounts that I'm running with, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, sometimes I forget which For You page I'm on which account, right? Hey, thankfully you're getting that stuff. And like, think of what other stuff you could be getting from certain people. I've kind of like...
No, but it's been on my mind now because I see it.
Yeah.
And I see it. I'm like, oh.
Well, probably because some of the content I make is about like, you can be kind, you can be empathetic, you can be a nice person, right? So then that you interact with it, let alone and also know it gets also connected to my device. So,
well, just so you're aware, I'm seeing it. And it's really affected me.
You're like, it's hitting me right in the heart.
So with that being said,
yeah.
What is the difference between nice and being kind?
We just were talking about this off camera. Niceness is just, I think, can be very superficial, right? Like you're just being nice to somebody because you want them to either stop talking or you just want to be done with them, or like you're just, I don't know. I mean, nice is nice, right? But I feel like it can be very surface level. Kindness is like a personality trait. Like, you care about other people's feelings. You care about how you come off to other people. You care, the impact you leave on other people. Kindness is soft spoken, but like firm. Niceness is just like, oh yeah, they're nice, which means they just don't say anything, controversial, or they don't say anything which, they don't say anything rude. But
so is being nice weak, and is being kind weak?
No, I feel like that's a stigma that has to end, of like people who are defining the term weakness. You know what I mean? Just because it's different than maybe how you operate. I think weakness is telling somebody else how to live their life because it's different than how you do.
Okay.
Like, I think that's more of a sign of weakness. It's just like, you can't see past your own nose, that anybody who thinks or lives differently than you is wrong. Like, to me, that's weakness. So I'd say if you're a nice person, that's great. If you're a kind person, I'd say more so the emphasis needs to be that kindness is not weakness, more so than like niceness, because everybody can be nice, but it takes a special person to be kind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I tell you how this is not, there might be a study out there. I have no idea. This is just what I think. This is like my life experience. I think being nice is like people pleasing. I think there's something in their life that has caused trauma where something's happened where they were doing something and they didn't receive something in return for it, and it's caused some sort of trauma, or they did receive something and it caused trauma, and so now their fight or flight, their defense is to say something nice and try to, my feelings are based upon how you feel about me, so I'm going to be nice to you so that I feel good about myself because you feel good about me.
Interesting.
And so I almost think that being nice is weak.
I can see that.
But it's not because they're trying to be weak. It's because trauma has happened in their life.
Sure.
And so
more of like a weakness and not you are weak.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
Yes.
I totally get that.
Yes, where I've seen a lot of the things that I'm seeing now, that because of you.
You're welcome.
Is a lot of men and women find that being nice is weak. Like, oh, he's not going to defend me. Oh, he's just trying to be nice to them to get
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I
You know,
see
that
that.
type of, now being kind, I feel like is not being weak. I feel
Yeah.
being kind is you are secure in yourself. You're being kind to yourself. You're loving yourself. And in return, I can offer you that
Kind of dish
kindness.
that out.
Yeah. And so that's like, dude, if you need me to tear that person's head off, I will. But I'm not going to.
But I'm going to do it with kindness.
No, kind of what Jordan Peterson said once.
Yeah.
You know, and mind you, you can like it or not like it. You can agree with it or not agree with it. But he said that you want to be that monster. You want to be that beast. But you also want to learn how to control it. So if the time arises, you can let it out. But you want to be able to control it.
Well, Joe Rogan talked about this on his podcast one time. It's probably one of the most viral clips he ever had. I don't think he came up with it, but he's definitely one that helped share it. Was that I'd rather be a gardener. I'd rather be a warrior in a garden instead of a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
Like you have the capability of being soft and gentle and kind, but you know, as a man, you also still, I hate saying that. Like as a man, you also still want to be able to like, you know, step up and so I guess while that applies, you know, not everything has to be viewed physically being able to like handle a situation, but you want to have like, I guess like the mental fortitude to be able to handle a situation, you know, in general, but like not exceed past being able to show someone kindness that deserves it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to be able to protect my family physically.
100%.
Like I want to be able to know that my wife, if something comes in, like I'm going to protect her.
It's go time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would never mess with my wife. Like she can hold her own. Like
really?
you know, oh dude.
See, not that I'm saying that I
own.
wouldn't put that I don't think that, but like I guess I don't know Candace well enough.
But she has to. She has to be able to hold her own because
she's got 6 kids.
and she's married to me.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Not talking bad about myself, but I have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that are like, hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And she's like, no, that's a dumb idea. Like she'll never say it's a dumb idea, but she'll literally just hold her own.
Oh yeah, the same with my wife. She's definitely she can back up her talk a lot, and it's not like she talks a lot. No, like my wife is definitely kind of getting back to kindness, and I feel like you can back this up because it's the same with your wife. My wife Chelsea like literally just permeates like kindness. She just 100%. Like radiates
because
kindness.
They choose it.
Yeah.
Not because they're nice, but because I choose to be kind.
And it's like I said, I think that's where it's a personality trait. And I have gleaned so much from my wife over 100%. The last 12 years of like the benefits of kindness. But yet it is not an example of weakness. What I think gets misconstrued as kindness being associated with weakness is because there are people out there who will take advantage of kindness. And people who will take advantage of people being nice. And then that makes it maybe appear as a weakness because, you know, they jumped on somebody that has the empathy and the kindness that they don't. If that makes sense.
It does. So how do you think kindness is perceived today? Now we're talking about that, and we're talking about like obviously people pleasing and being kind, being people pleasing, being nice, and then also just being kind you're choosing. So how do you think truly being kind to other people is being perceived today? Overall.
I think there's probably a little bit of a divide, right? I think that there's a lot of people who are kind of like me and you who view it as a form of strength, right? And then there's a lot of the world and society, the mass majority of people view it as being weak, right? Because you have a lot of influential people in the media and the government and influencers or whatever that tell you like you have to be like this, you have to like take no prisoners, you have to like if you're not like this then you are weak. And I think that's what you and I combat, and we try to combat a lot, is that there's so many different types of people out there. There's so many different types of personalities, and that like when you are exercising kindness and empathy, you can actually like connect with more people than you realize. And that I view it as me personally, like I talk about this all the time, the peacocking, the pluming out your feathers and like pounding on your chest and showing everybody how tough you are and you have no weaknesses and like I'm not, I'm going to tell it how it is, whatever. Like to me, I'm like, you might as well be waving a flag that says I need therapy. Like,
you know what I call those guys?
Huh?
Little dog syndrome.
Little dogs. Oh yeah. Oh dude, I got a little dog.
Like
You got a little dog. I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
So like we've had a Great Dane, and the Great Dane's just like,
I don't care.
whatever, man, you're not going to hurt me. And then you have the Chihuahuas that are nonstop because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And to me, that's exactly what it is. Just it's the little dog syndrome, where they're more concerned about showing how big they are and how big they can be, rather than just being themselves and loving themselves and accepting themselves.
Okay, I'm gonna. This is gonna sound a little gaggy. This is my little boy Elliot. I don't know. This is maybe everything's coming back to me, like that I probably gave my parents, but he's so animated. He is so funny. He says the funniest stuff. And today at his soccer game, we had to split up. I had to go to his soccer game. My wife went to my daughter's, and there was a little boy that was coming over that he knows that kept coming over talking to us, and he was like so fascinated with how big my beard was or whatever, and he kept saying that, oh, your beard looks scary or whatever. And my boy Elliot, who's kind of on a break from the game at the moment, he goes, yeah, my dad's like really nice. He's like, but he can also be like really scary if if he needs to be. So I'm like, to me, I'm like, I was like, I'll take that. Like, I want to be like this really nice, kind guy, but like, you cross the line and you're going to catch a side of me that you don't want to see. And I feel like that's what you and I are trying to do with break the mold that has been set by society for like manliness and for men, of kind of like, you can be a big, manly, tough looking dude, but you can also be soft for the people that need it. Not soft and weak, but you can show softness and kindness and like be gentle with your wife and your daughter and your kids and people who need it. And sometimes the guy who might need it is another big, strong, burly looking dude. He might need some softness. He might need kindness because he's going through something and doesn't have someone to talk to. So
that reminds me of you know how I did theater with Isaac, and I'm sure we'll do when he gets home. We'll do theater.
Oh, dude, call me. I'll totally jump on there too.
Yeah, I have so much fun with that kid.
Yeah.
Like, I have fun with all my kids, but me and him were able to connect through theater because that's what he enjoys, and find out I really enjoyed it. But anyway, when I was doing Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver Twist.
Oliver, yeah, and I ended up being the bad guy. And that's when I had to grow a beard, and when I found out I could grow a beard. Anyway, point being is I was so good at being bad that the parents, because of my appearance is always just big, and I've never had a beard until then, and I scared the parents. The parents literally had to come on stage and talk to me. Every parent, because there was like 13, 14 kids in that show, every parent had to came and talk to me to make sure that I wasn't going to hurt their kids.
That's funny.
I know.
You're like, no, I'm actually like, you're like, I'm super nice.
Yeah, no, it's like, you're just a big teddy bear. And afterwards, then they would come talk to me anyway and all that kind of stuff. But they were all afraid.
Interesting.
And I'm like, it's because I'm a good actor. But no, it was because of my size and the beard. Because it does scare. The beard scares people, and our size.
It does. Well, I mean, it's the psychology is that it makes your chin look bigger, and a bigger chin makes guys look like.
I can promise you,
masculine.
my chin is huge under this beard.
Which one? Because I got a couple underneath there. That's why I grow the beard. I grow having a beard is like create your own jawline. Yeah. I say that all the time.
Well, you know there's a competition where they shave the middle down, and so they have two long strands of hair, like almost like chops with the mustache. And I'm like, that's like the worst thing for me to ever do.
Yeah, got like little whoop-de-doo curves.
Like, I'll shave all that and I'll leave this.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm shaving my beard off on Father's Day. We've talked about this a couple of times now. I'm kind of curious because I have lost weight since the last time I shaved my beard, and I'm like, I wonder how much of a jawline I have because I can feel parts of it, but I'm also gonna be like, no, it's not what I was hoping.
All right. So there was, so I have a couple articles here. Okay. This one is by Psychology Today, and it's about empathy and why kindness sometimes is associated with weakness. And this is by Jennifer Lee Austin. And she goes, sadly, I'm concerned that in this country, there's a lot more emphasis on raising strong kids. And in many households, that is synonymous with taking care of yourself with little emphasis on the feelings of others. She hopes that will change, but notes that this mindset may also come from media influence. Greenberg says that several television characters will show little empathy, which often means that bad or mean person is viewed as cool or strong. So basically, we as family members, as parents, as media, are teaching our kids that to be strong, you have to be mean and aggressive.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally, I think there's a place where you have to be competitive, which means you have to show
Sure.
aggression. Like in today's world, you and we have to be competitive. Like I have to be aggressive, but I can be kind at the same
Yeah.
time. Just like what we were talking about last episode, it's like you can say hard things in a nice, kind way.
Hmm.
You don't have to be mean. And I think that's what we're teaching though, is like a lot of people think, no, you have to, in order for you to get your point across, you have to yell, you have to scream, you have to be aggressively mean. And that's just not the case.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I'm still working on a lot. Like, I mean, as like a young dad and stuff, like we had an instant the other day where my son had pink eye because he's in kindergarten and they all get it.
Uh-huh.
And we had to get drops. You show me a kindergartner that lets you put eye drops in without a fight, like you got a very different kid.
Seriously.
And this is like to the point where his mom has got his head and I am like holding his body, like forcing him down. And when you've been trying to do this for 15 minutes, it hits a point where you're just like, Elliot, like you're going to do this, or we're going to go upstairs, we're going to pack up all of your Legos, and we're going to do, like, you just start getting to like the angry negotiation phase. And that's where it's like, after when he finally gets the eye drops in, you're like, man, I overdid that. Right. So I think it's this fine line of being stern, being like, authoritative if you need to be, and being, strong willed, but also like approaching everything with kindness. And you've heard that phrase, that, another thing from a Joe Rogan podcast where it said, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men. Right. And I feel like that's a very black and white statement of kind of like, oh, and then a lot of people are saying that we were in the good times that are now we're creating weak men right now. And so these weak men are creating hard times. I would say that there's kind of a matured twist on that statement, that there are some people that are creating a lot of hard times right now because of weakness. But I think it has helped a lot of men like me and you also see things from a different perspective of like, no, we can be the strong men to help recreate the good times. But at the same time, we can do that with more empathy and kindness than the last couple generations did. Because you think back to the last couple generations of hard men that created good time, right? Like grandpas, great grandpas, the guys that were in, we talked about this a couple episodes, the guys who came back from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all these guys, these hard-nosed guys that created the good times for the country, right? We can be those type of like hard-nosed, hardworking, tough men, but they're also can sit down and listen to your kids and let them talk to you about the things they're struggling with, because then they take the next generation and they mature that much better than we are. And then they take, the economy to a next level that we have never been able to get it to. And so I think we need more. I'm going to get on the soapbox. I think we need more guys like me and you. And I only say that because you've given me the confidence to say that. Like, we need more guys like me and you, and a lot of the guys that are in our comment section. A lot of you guys that listen to this show, like, you don't realize how much power you have by just commenting, being like, I agree with this so much. Like, I try this and this and this, but I don't have the same voice as you guys. Yes, you do. You 100% do. Next time you see something that you don't agree with, if somebody's handling a situation, whether it's at work, home, out in public or whatever, like, speak up and show someone what strength through kindness looks like. That's how you change the narrative. That's how you change, that's how you change the stigma that in order to be strong, you got to be angry, you got to be bold, you got all this stuff. Like, you can show a lot of strength through kindness and empathy.
I don't remember my dad ever yelling. I really don't. And he's one of the strongest people I know. And I think that's one thing that I've taken from my dad. Now, mind you, I've yelled at my kids.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's just,
me too.
sometimes you're just like, are you joking me? You know what I mean?
You
But
did what to
our
who?
job is not to be their friend. Our job is to be a parent. But you can be a parent that's kind. And all this kind of stuff. So I have learned so much these past 4 or 5 years that, from the situations that have been going on in my family. I am a completely different dad.
Sure.
I have learned so much patience and love and kindness towards my children that I had for in the beginning, but now I know how to express it better. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to express. Like you're talking about, like, yes, you do. You do have a voice, but you don't know how to express it. Start expressing it now. Start understanding how that this is something that you should do and could do. And by practicing it, it's going to be contagious for everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you will get better at it.
Yeah.
It's just like any other skill set. It takes time. You want to be kind. It doesn't mean nice. You're not people pleasing.
Yeah.
You're being kind for a purpose, because you want to have, you don't want to have that inner anxiety. You don't want to have that inner anger. You want to just love.
Yeah.
And so if you want that, be that. And it will take time. It's a skill set. It's just like anything else. You want to be a good basketball player? Guess what? You're going to have to shoot 1,000 shots a day.
Yeah.
And even that might not be enough to make it to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still practice.
Yeah.
So just kind of moving forward with what I want to talk about, kindness to me has to start with being kind to yourself.
Sure.
So how do you define self-care, and how do you relate to your understanding of kindness?
Well, self-care is a hard one.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think we all have a tendency to maybe be a little bit more self-destructive than we do self-care, right?
Do you think it's self-destructive, or we just care as family, as our family, we care more about our children and our wife than us? Like, we want the best for them before us. So would you call that
Oh, well, yeah. I
self-destructive?
mean, any good-hearted guy is going to want to put his family before himself, right? Like, I mean, that's, I mean, Jordan talked about this on one of our last episodes. Jordan Stevenson, he talked about, like, his approach, and this is what works for him. This isn't necessarily the answer for everybody.
Yeah.
Is that he exhausts all of his effort and his mental capacity into everything that he cares about, right? Like what he does, as a guy who's, who helps motivate other people, and then his wife and his children and his job, or like all this stuff, right? So that he's like, I don't give myself the mental capacity to end up in the dark areas, right? That doesn't necessarily work for everybody.
No,
right?
but I think what's really important is for these types of episodes that we're talking about, and every episode, and also every other, podcast out there, you listen to it, you take what's valuable to you, and you implement it, and then all of a sudden you have a whole thing for you, because this might work for you, this doesn't work for you, but then you hear something else.
But I know, and I like that. But my thing is what I've realized is that if I am not taking care of myself, if I am not spending time on myself, and I'm not saying like exuberance amount of time, like a very small time, like when I'm driving, when there is not anything else that I could be doing for my family, like, or when I'm, like they've all gone to bed or whatever, and I will try to work on things, because if you want the people that rely on you to have a better life, like it starts with you. Like if you view yourself as the person in that rock position, the person who provides, or the person who protects, or the person who leads, or whatever your family dynamic is, I'm not saying one way or the other. If you're not actively working on yourself through self-care or whatever, like you're bound to hit a point where you're not going to know what to do, or you're going to react the wrong way, or you're going to make the wrong decision. Not saying that you can't, but if you're actively working on bettering yourself, then you're going to better the lives and the relationships of the people who care about you, and the people that rely on you. So for me, self-care has been this thing that I've been focusing on for years and years and years, because it was either that or suicide, that or lose my family, that or end up in a mental institution. Not that, like put there because I did some stuff that I can't take back. Or one of my biggest dreams, I don't tell this to a lot of people, but now apparently I'm telling it to everybody.
I was like, all the thousands I listen.
I want to get to a point in my life, in the success point, where I can create a nonprofit that pulls people off the street that are so unhinged because they didn't get the help that they needed, that I know for a fact would have a totally different life if they just got the help that they needed, whether that's a medication, whether that's therapy, whether that's all the other kinds of stuff. Because we've all seen people that, like, on the side of the road, whether they're homeless or whatever, like, man, that guy's off his rocker.
TNL.
Like just imagine what that person would have been like with the right treatment plan. Imagine what would happen if that person had gotten the care or the love or the support from people that they needed it most. Or imagine what that person would have been like if addiction hadn't gotten a hold of them. So like, I would love to have some kind of a facility to do that for people one day, because I almost ended up there, because I blacked out one night and ran off and didn't know if I was ever going to come back. And I could have ended up on the streets. I could have ended up dead. I could have ended up committing suicide. So but then thankfully there were some people in my life that helped correct me, and to do them justice, and to do all of the love and compassion that my wife and patience that she gave me, I owed it to her and my babies to focus on myself enough to give them a better life. So self-care is this huge flag that I wave. I'm like, and if you think that taking care of yourself is a show of weakness, don't knock it till you try it. Try and focus on yourself for a little bit each day for a month, and tell me that your life and your wife's life, your partner's life, your kid's life is not better.
So I know I've talked about this before, and I'm sorry. There's a lot of people who don't enjoy shows and plays.
Sure. I think it's great that you
But
love
there's a show or a play out there, a musical called Next to Normal. I've talked about it before, but I think it's really relevant to what we're talking about. So the show starts with a family in a kitchen, a daughter, a son, and a husband and wife. And the husband and wife are fighting. The daughter's like not being seen. Something's going on. You can't figure out what's going on, but you're just like, the son's fighting and crying, and the daughter. It's the whole thing. Throughout the whole show, the daughter is starting to push away, and the wife is starting to push away, and the husband is trying to keep everything set, like controlled. And you have the mom crying all the time. The daughter's like, "Why can't you see me? Like, I'm here. Why can't you see me?" And the son's just like, "I'm here. Like, guys, just love me." And at the very end, the daughter goes to college with her boyfriend, totally upset with the family. The wife divorces the dad and leaves. And the dad goes into the son's bedroom and just starts to cry. Come to find out, the son had committed suicide before the show even started. So the son that was there is just a shadow of what they're seeing. And so now you have the dad who finally, after everything said, he's lost everything. He's lost his daughter. He's lost his son. He's lost his wife.
Yeah.
Now he can have remorse. Now he can cry.
Yeah, I can feel it.
And if you just what you're saying is, if he could just at the very beginning just be sad.
Yeah.
And be able to cry and not feel like he has to be in control to help his family out, might have saved the rest of them.
Well, and I know that it's a great analogy too. It's a great storyline, and I know that we talk a lot about like,
it's a hard show.
Obviously, the mass majority of our listener base is men, right? We talk about that a lot, but we do have a lot of women and other people that listen that have men in their lives that these scenarios apply to. And I know at the same time, I've seen in comment sections and things like that, guys that have been burnt by trying these type of things, and they had people in their lives that were not equipped to like see them in that facet. So while we sit here a lot and say, "Oh, try this," look into self-care, be more empathetic, whatever. At the same time, like for anybody who's not, maybe that all these things don't necessarily apply to, like we've got to give space for the people in our lives to explore those self-care situations. Like if you're a type of person that you think that, if you're a spouse or a partner or a significant other that thinks that the man in your life can't show those emotions, like I would almost like implore you to think differently, because they're a whole freaking person. Like people act like men are not capable of emotions. Like, no, we are. We've just learned who not to share them with.
Well, and because of that, I really believe this. We not only have been taught not to do this. Now, mind you, I've always been taught to express my emotions.
Yeah.
My parents were all about that growing up.
Yeah.
And so I'm that way with my kids. But at the same time, a lot of us have been taught not to show it. So what if we don't show our emotions and we don't share our emotions, we're not good expressing them.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times we'll say stuff, because even I don't have a hard time expressing some things. Like some things are just like, I don't want my wife to know this.
Oh yeah, well yeah. There's
you know what I mean?
Privacy, yeah.
No, not necessarily privacy. I don't want her to know that it's this bad.
Sure.
I want to protect her from this, and I shouldn't feel that way. But there comes a point where it's like we do express ourselves, and sometimes it's twisted because we explain it poorly. Where the partner, the spouse, the boyfriend or girlfriend take it as it's my fault. Yeah. Like it's their fault. And I'm like, that's like, I've expressed some things with Candace before where she feels like I'm saying this is on you. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, please don't take it that way. I'm saying I'm feeling this way. It's no one's fault. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, like, they just don't know how to express themselves. And therefore, when they do express themselves, they express it poorly. So it almost feels like they're being attacked, the person who's receiving that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's the case. I think if you are with someone, if you are have a partner in life and you're expressing something, you are never purposely trying to hurt that person ever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to try to hurt my wife. I'm never going to try to hurt my kids. Never going to try to hurt you. But sometimes I will say something that is so poorly said
Yeah.
that you might take it as, what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we're not good at it. We're not good at expressing ourselves. And so people need to realize that. Sorry, that was a long tangent to
No,
get to a
I thought it was great.
point.
I thought that was great because one thought I had in there of like, it's very apparent very soon. I shouldn't say very apparent very soon. I think it can become very apparent if you do have someone in your life whose intention is to hurt you.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And then you obviously, there's the whole dynamic of like being able to escape that and like having the courage, or the situation to be able to escape that. Like that's a whole nother freaking episode. But like one instance one thing that I ran into a lot in the kind of beginning, and it was a hard dynamic for my wife and I, was when I was first coming to terms with the mental illness and like trying to figure out all of these things, and then coming to grips with like, oh my gosh, I did all of these things that I wasn't really aware of, or I didn't see it from this perspective because I wasn't clear-minded. I was super bad headspace. Realizing that it was the Logan show for years and my wife was hanging on. But then unfortunately, like the Logan show had to go into season number 2 for me to get better. So then she felt even more pushed in the back. So then me starting to like recognize and express feelings and emotions and realize that like I'm this whole other person, that now that I have this level of vulnerability and honesty and all this stuff, it can still bury your partner, and then they can become numb to it. And then they can feel like, I can't even listen to this anymore because now you're the other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's there's never this, I never want to portray like, oh, we have this one answer. You just have to do this and this and this and your life is perfect. It's going to take a lot of freaking work.
It's a battle.
I mean, we're still battling it every single day. I can tell you yesterday, 5 different mistakes I made in communication with my wife.
And me.
Yeah. And you. Are you even listening to my are you even reading my text?
I really said that.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, are you even looking at my stuff?
But that's what I'm saying, is that like there is no such thing as one answer that works for everybody, right? I mean, there's like the general answer, and then there's the way to go about it, and then there's this way to go about it. But kind of like what you were saying, right? Sometimes people might take it as like an attack on them, or someone like in our situation, my wife was taking it as just complete mental exhaustion of like, we can't focus on you even
All
more.
the time.
Even though this is like a positive focus, it's still the Logan show. And then I had to find through that work, I had to find ways to gain empathy. I had to find ways to control my empathy, to help my wife see and understand that like I love you and care for you more than anything on this planet or whatever, or anything in this entire universe. And I'm sorry that it has been so many years that you haven't seen that from me, because it breaks my heart that what I've put you through. But it's like, to get to that point, I had to go through all of this other crap. And had I not gone through all of that other crap, I wouldn't be able to get to the point to see things and feel things the way that I do. So the whole point of this podcast and anything that you and I do is just to share experiences of, this is what it's like for us in this situation, not like you have to be just like us to experience it this way. If that, I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, 100%. I like that.
So
I think this is a perfect segue for what you were talking about. So Harvard Health came out with this by Melissa Broderick, and so this is written by Harvard professor, and says, lead with compassion, follow with kindness. So basically, what I'm about to say, how I feel is, you and I, if someone shares something with us, their vulnerabilities or vice versa, definitely lead with compassion and then follow with kindness. So everyone has challenges, many hidden from sight. If you knew that the coworker delivering the curt response to a question or a snarky critic of a project that had recently learned of a serious illness in their family, wouldn't you cut them some slack? And better yet, might you then want to reach out with support? When we are compassionate, we are recognizing our shared human condition. Compassion can guide us to acts of kindness. Maybe we keep our mouth shut instead of calling out a misdemeanor, or we find a private time to ask if something is okay. Sometimes kindness is offering to get a coffee or bringing back a cookie from a lunchtime workshop just because. So what I really like about this and what you were talking about is I just told you that I don't tell everyone everything because I'm trying to protect them. Sometimes I have that stress and I'm working and I'm in the zone. Have you ever been in the zone? Like, you know what I mean? You're just in the zone. Don't leave me alone. I'm in it. I'm not in this very often. This is happening.
Yeah.
And then Candace will come and talk to me and I'm a little snippy. Like, you know, it's just like, after it happens, you're like, I shouldn't have done that. But if she would have, you know, I'm not saying this is on her. I should not have been that way with her.
Sure.
And I apologize, you know, last time that happened. But at the same time, if that happened to me, I would have like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you talking to me that way?
Yeah.
But if she would have known, or if like she said that to me and I would have known that, hey, there's a lot of stress right now in this person's life. If I just showed a little bit more compassion, say, I'm sorry, love you. Do you need a drink? Don't even ask. Here's a drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little bit different. But again, the fault lies on my own.
Yeah.
Like the person who is kind of giving you a backlash, it's their fault. They shouldn't treat you that way. But we're talking about ourselves and we're talking about kindness.
Yeah.
And so you never know. I remember me talking about that religious leader about, do I mention that now?
Sure.
I just don't. I guess not everyone's listened to every podcast that we've had. But there was a gentleman who was, speeding, going really fast, trying to make it home. And there was a guy going really, really slow in front of him. And no, just opposite. He was driving, going really slow, and he hit the brakes, and a guy ran into him.
Yeah.
He got out of the car. Nothing really was damaged. The religious leader, was the one who hit him and said, "I'm sorry about this.
Yeah.
I know what you want to give me your stuff." And the guy just explicitly.
Explicit.
Expletive. You know, just nonstop. You know, you son of a gun, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, gets in his car and drives. A couple months later, this religious leader is up there and he's talking and he's preaching forgiveness. He's preaching all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The guy comes in and comes up after the talk and says, "I'm so sorry I talked to you that way." And this religious leader had a lot of pain from this and a lot of resentment and a lot of just disdain for this guy. And he goes and said, "I'm sorry. I found out that night or that day that my wife died and I was going home to tell my kids." And all of a sudden, the religious leaders went, "Oh."
Just unpacked.
Just like, I have zero ill will. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Let me love you. Let me do something for you. And that's what this is all about, is showing compassion even when we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they're having a hard time. Kind of like what that gentleman, that guy said to us about the World War I vets and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, something's going on in his life.
Yeah.
He's miserable.
And that's the thing is you never know what's going on in someone else's life, right? And sometimes we have points in our life where we have a very big lapse in judgment, where we have an extremely emotional response, right? And because there's going to be those times in your life where you're in fight or flight, you're in panic mode, you're in the deepest depths you've ever been. Like that's where like we've talked about this before, mental health and mental illness. Like you're going to have major mental health crises in your life, regardless of whether you deal with a mental illness or not. But if there is any point of you that is cognitively aware in a moment of how you are coming across, if you have any ability to kind of correct that ship, because you don't want to, you want to try to not to come across in that moment as somebody who is a jerk, who is an unkind person, because whatever you're going through, you don't want to like kind of spread that toxicity, right? Like I talked about in the last show about, we were talking about loyalty, and I kind of like jumped down someone's throat because they were talking, ill of my brother or whatever. But now they probably think, now I have a different perspective an episode later, because I'm like, man, she probably thinks I'm a jerk. And she's like, come across my social media. I'm like, man, this guy's a liar. But that's what I'm saying, of like, we're never going to hit everything perfect. There's nobody who's going to say the right thing every single time. So this is where we come back to what we're talking about: compassion, empathy, kindness is just giving people the benefit of the doubt. And there is no weakness in that.
No.
All you're doing
because
is
that guy should not have yelled at that religious leader.
sure,
Like he shouldn't have, but he did.
because his wife died.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like there's so much gray area because it's like you can argue in certain situations, you can
100%.
argue every single position because it's like, yeah, but you had every right to. I'm like, yeah, but the guy didn't do it on purpose. Like, and so my point being is kind of going back to talking with, I feel like we just keep referencing our own episodes, talking about with Jordan. He's like, I just try to reset every single day. Every single chance is an opportunity to reset because I can't go back. I can't change the past. I don't like the way that things happen, but the way it happened, the way that they did, I have an opportunity to do things different. So that's what I try to practice in my life is just doing things different, taking a step back, thinking through it. Even if I'm having an emotionally high time, whether it's super high or super low, I try to like think things through because how I respond is going to leave a massive impression on my kids whose brains are still forming. How I respond is going to leave a massive impression on my wife or on my friends or on my coworkers. And one thing that keeps coming to my mind is we had a situation at work. I work in construction. Talk about peacocking. Everyone's tough all the time. Everyone talks crap all the time. You're just buddies. Everybody's okay. Everybody's mentally ill. Everyone's mentally ill, right? We have quite a few guys that work for us that grew up together. Some of them are related. Some of them are like not related, but they're basically brothers. And I told you about this on an episode a while back where one of the guys died. He had an altercation with the police and he ended up getting shot.
Yeah.
He passed away. It was really hard. One of our foremen, it was his brother. So he's devastated, right? And we're like, take as much time as you need. A couple of other guys grew up with him. One of our other guys, it was his roommate. Like it was like 3 or 4 of our guys. And when they finally came back to work about a week and a half later, you could tell it was just like drained. A bunch of them were drained. But they grew up in a culture where it's like, don't talk about feelings. You gotta be tough, whatever. And they know that I do some social media stuff. They know that I have a podcast. We talk about this stuff. And I took the opportunity to like go out, stretch out on this huge limb because it was like this weird gray area. Cause it's like, I'm, in management at the company. And a lot of times they're coming to me asking different questions or ask for approval on this or whatever. So it was like this weird line to cross, but I just was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I know you must be going through a lot that I can't even fathom because I work with my brother every single day. If that happened to my brother, I don't know I don't know how I would react. I know I would be devastated. And I just started kind of riffing on this, like what we talk about, like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to like, it's okay to cry, like talking about all these things that they probably are not hearing from other people. And it's just like, if you need anybody to talk to, like, I promise you, like, it's no judgment here. And then it got into like, hey, like, well, what one of the guys was asking about, like, I've never been to therapy, but I've been thinking about it. I'm like, you 100% should go. I'm like, I used to be, an insurance agent. I'm like, look into this and this and this in your health insurance. It might be covered because this is a bereavement situation. And it got into these kind of healthy conversations with a couple of these guys. And I've gotten a couple of nice messages from them since of like, you don't realize that like some people hold you in a position of like respect or authority or whatever. But if you come down, you kind of break down that barrier of like, hey, I'm also kind of like, this is a trigger word for some people, especially in this age. Like, I'm also kind of a safe space for you too. I know a lot of guys don't like the word, safe space, you snowflake or whatever. Like, call me a freaking snowflake. I don't care. But you can also call me when you're crying. You can also cry me. You can also call me when you're upset. And I'll be that safe space for you. Like, you can peacock that all day long. I don't care. But if I can help a guy, then that makes me feel a lot better. It makes me feel more fulfilled. I know for a fact that guy's now going to talk to me next time something happens, as opposed to just disappearing from work or going through something hard or whatever. So that's kind of the whole gist of what we keep talking about here, is that like, you can be both. You can be the strong, tough, bold, like protector and provider, but you can also be the guy that's there for your friends, there for your family, there for your coworkers, somebody who can see the other side. And we've talked about it before. And then you turn around and you show the next guy the way. And then he shows around and shows the next guy the way. And then we will help create this whole community and this whole different breed of men of like strong, tough guys that are willing to get the job done, but also turn around willing to give a guy a hand and pull him up and help him improve his life, improve his relationships. And
Are you afraid that anyone will ever take advantage of that kindness?
yeah, and I've had it happen. But
Does it bother you?
yeah, but then you kind of learn who not to have relationships with. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is it's kind of like the little red hen. We've talked about that. You know, little red hen's making a bunch of bread and asks for help. Don't, you know, the fox didn't want to help, the cow didn't want to help, the duck didn't want to help. As soon as the bread's made though, everybody was like, wow, that smells great. That smells delicious. Can I have some bread? And it's like, but you didn't want to help.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, you know, then it's this whole like, you know, hard area of kind of like, I still should probably give you some bread. but yeah, I've had experiences in my life where I've had to learn who to not kind of like show parts of myself to.
So, you know, as a business owner, I have learned that I get taken advantage of all the time.
Oh yeah.
But I allow it to happen and it doesn't bother me. Like I want to help you. I'm going to help you. There's some times where I'm like, hey, someone reached out and said, hey, my girlfriend's in jail. Can you pay her bill? I'm like,
yeah. I gotta draw the line somewhere.
But I have gotten that. But there's some things I'm like, I'm going to help you. And I'm shocked. Like we're doing an auction for a little boy who's going, he's 4 years old. He's going for his second open heart surgery on Tuesday. And we're doing an auction. I reached out to all these companies. And like out of 30 companies, like 9 said yes. The rest were like, no, we're not interested. I was shocked.
Interesting.
I'm not going to call them out.
Makes you want to though.
Yeah. But I was shocked. I'm
like companies that you like have connections with and
Yes.
relationships with.
Yes.
Not just like, oh, I reached out to Ford.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah,
these
like,
these are guys
people.
that I've talked to people. They're in my industry, all this kind of stuff. And like, no, not this time. And I'm like,
yeah.
you know how much what you make? I know how much it costs you. Like it's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and I can also understand. Yeah.
Like it's like it costs money. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, I know what you're making.
So let me ask you this, and this might be a little bit of a tangent, and we might be.
It was shocking, and I'm trying not to judge because I don't know what's going on in their company, all that kind of stuff. But to help a little boy and their family, it was hard.
So do you feel like, and this is kind of sparked this question, do you feel like there are industry, like people in the like people in society or in business or whatever, and big corporations that are taking advantage of people trying to be more kind? Because I feel like everywhere I go now, would you like to round up for the whatever children's this? Would you like to round up for the Ronald McDonald House? Would you like to round up for the Taco Bell, scholarship fund? Like everywhere you go asks if you want to round up or you want to tip, right? So it's like, I wonder if guys like that see that maybe as this kind of this is a different situation where it's like, hey, this is personal. This isn't just some big corporation that's trying to get a tax break. But see, I've had
this is saying, hey, would you like to donate a beard oil and a butter?
Yeah.
And it'll raffle or it'll
I get that.
Instead of them paying normally like $30, like the customer that might pay $60, but it's for an auction.
Yeah.
And they did, and people would say,
do you feel like people are kind of jaded though, because everywhere you go somebody is asking for some kind of monetary additional thing?
See, but there you go. There's the compassion versus and kindness after. I wasn't showing compassion. Maybe there's something going on and I just need to be more. So there's always something to learn.
In this episode titled The Gray Area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, I think this is a good topic and we could probably keep riffing on this forever and over and ever. But like I'd say, unless there was something more that you wanted to share, that kind of wrapping it up is that my thought through this whole thing just kind of keeps going back to like, you can only like have 100% effect like on yourself. Right? Like you can only affect people to a certain level, but you're the only person that can have 100% effect on yourself. So if you want to like bolster other people up and teach them, certain ways to do things, like you've got to show that to yourself first. Does that make sense? Like, I know that kind of like was a weird way of explaining it.
No, what I get is you have to be kind to yourself first. You have
Yeah.
to forgive yourself first. And if you forgive yourself, if you're kind to yourself, if you love yourself, that will emulate 10 times to others.
Yeah.
You'll be more kind, you'll be more loving, you'll be more friendly, you'll be all these things because that's how you believe yourself to be.
Yeah. And that's something I'm still working on a lot. Believe it or not, I'm probably still one of the rudest people to myself.
I think I think it's natural. It's like the natural man. It's the natural thing that
Yeah.
people do is we are our worst critics.
Yeah.
We're the hardest ones on is us. Like I look at myself and sometimes I'm disgusted.
Sure.
I really am.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate it. Like I'll get to the point where I'm like, I will take my shirt off and I won't let Candace see me. Because I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like how I feel. I don't all this. And she loves me. She loves how I look. But I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do things for it, but it's just like that. It's hard sometimes to be kind to yourself. It's hard to love yourself sometimes. But you have to give yourself a break. And I've not learned this week. So it's a Saturday. I'd say around Tuesday. So there's 2 week funk or 2 month funk I was telling you about. Something clicked around Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm just like,
Of this last week.
where I'm just like, it's okay. Like it's okay.
Serotonin started working again. Yeah.
It was. I don't know if anyone believes in power of prayer, but I know a lot of people believe in prayer or
Like meditation.
meditating, sending it out to the world, saying positivity, and it comes back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
I've been just praying, and I've been talking to myself, and I've been asking my family for help and stuff like that. Like, hey, send positive thoughts, vibes, prayers, whatever you believe, please do. And
Feeling better?
yeah, I feel like it's like I talked to my therapist last Thursday, not this yesterday, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm numb.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, he's like, how do you feel today? I'm like, I don't feel.
Yeah.
I'm numb. And something just clicked. And the next day I woke up and I'm like, it's a good day.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been a bad day since.
I mean, we talk about this all the time. And I think that's great. And we should probably end on that. But we talk about this all the time that you work on yourself and you ask for help, like you were just doing, whether it's prayer, meditation, manifesting, whatever. You're putting out what you want to get back, and you're actively working at it. Like it is bound to come to you, and that's not necessarily just like with thoughts, but like receiving professional help, help from the people that are around you or whatever. Like you talked about this, stagnant. If you just stay stagnant, you're not going to get any different results. You're going to digress. Things are going to get worse. So if you are actively trying to better your life, you will bring up the people around you. And that is just my own personal experience, your own personal experience. And I would say, to wrap this up, try it and tell us that we're wrong, because it has improved my life. I can see that it's improved your life.
Yeah, it's always like, and next week when we record some more episodes and stuff like that, we're always going through something. Everyone is always going through something. It's how we perceive it and how we push through it. Yeah. And there's a lot of grit. We talked about grit before. I don't know if we talked about grit, but personally, we've talked about grit and getting through things. It's all grit.
Yeah,
it really is. It's just the grind, and you have to push through it, because if you push through it, you work on it, you ask for help.
Yeah. So on that note, I want to wrap it up and just kind of like also put you guys on to something that we talked about this once before. We are going to be starting most likely a Patreon page that we will. We're still going to bang out the details. It might be more men's group type focus situation, but somewhere where we can have these conversations with you guys more on a personal level, where you guys can reach out and talk to Tyson and I, talk to each other. So look for that. But
we'll still have a Facebook account, so people can comment in there. But this is going to be more of a
private group.
So anyone, you don't have to stress about what you say.
Yeah, there will be some major privacy conversations happening and disclaimers, because we want this to be a place where the guys who are feeling the need,
a safe place.
Yeah, a safe place. Who are feeling the need to have a place like that, but feeling the desire and the burn to improve, and you need to get over that hump, and you need a little bit of just a boost. Then
I
That's
just
for
thought
you.
a love group
I love it.
from the
If
previous
you know,
episode.
if you know, you know. But that's all we've got for you guys this week. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in, and make sure that you're checking on the links that we've got. Subscribe, comment, love, listen. Please leave a review. This has been an amazing ride, and we appreciate every single one of you guys. Peace. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. It means the world to us. If you have a chance, please give us a 5-star review, as well as write something a little pretty in there so that we know that you know that we know that you care. Anyway, have a great day, guys. See, I can't do it.
Dude, that was good. I liked that. You can't redo it without laughing. That was good.